Let's call the Budget and Finance Committee to order. We've got 6 present, Mr. Commissioner Dorch absent. We're gonna change a little bit tonight. Let's stand Commissioner Dorch, who is on our committee, is having some serious tests tonight at the St. Thomas Hospital. We're gonna ask Commissioner Shepherd if he can say a word of prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight for this meeting. Let us have a good meeting, that everybody be in peace and good faith. We also want to say a prayer for our friend and colleague, Mark Dorch. We know he's in your hands and he'll do your will, Lord. We just pray that he can come back to us in good shape. And also I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
All right, we'll get back to business. We appreciate everybody being here tonight. Does anybody on the committee have a question or comment before we start our hearings? Nobody? Okay.
Just give me a little while.
Hey. If we go too fast and you need to look at something, you just wait it on. Judge?
I'll do it, Judge.
We'll stop. Change. Number 1 on our list tonight, leaf grant, Ms. Gaffney.
Miss Catherine's ill, so I'm gonna
Okay,
skip hers.
fine.
Hers is
8-1.
pretty straightforward one. This is the lease grant off the lottery education money. It is 100% state-funded grant. Basically, they bumped her up last year to about $96,000 a year. The reason you see higher in the amended line is because they rolled money from the prior year due to COVID. So we don't know exactly what the grant will be, but we're just expecting that it'll be another $96,000. But this is fully funded from the state. It is the folks that work at North Street Elementary after school hours to work with the children. So most of it is payroll and benefits, and then there's some money that goes into supplies and travel.
But it is 100% state funded.
Yes.
No match. Question from the committee? Chief, ready over
I'm good.
there? Okay. Page 2, library. Ms. Gracie. I guess you're page 2 and 3. Right, page 2 and 3 versus continuing to 3.
And I have a packet to pass out along with what you already have.
All right.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Well, thank y'all for having me this evening. I just want to point out that I'm not alone this evening. Some board members joined me, because they also wanted to show support of what we're asking for, and, to let you know that they are the ones who, looked at this budget and approved it as well before I asked you all for possible approval. And so I'm just gonna go line by line, if that's okay.
Go right ahead.
Alright, so we're gonna look at that, the pay scale, and when we go to line 103, as it's proposed, as of right
Oh,
now.
now, wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Let's make sure we get on the right page.
Okay,
What
this
page?
one right now is the,
Page 2, row.
page 2.
Row
Yes.
11.
There we go, let me get on that one.
Where it says assistance.
Yes, where it says assistant.
Okay, now I'm with you.
Okay, so right now, if we do the current, it's 42,640. What we are requesting is 54. And I would like to turn to my packet right now for that. And
Tell us what
it will
page.
be this sheet right here that has the pay scale for our proposed one.
22,
It should be
23?
this, yes, mm-hmm.
Okay,
It should
yeah,
be
top
that
page
one.
then. All right,
And, this one is for the assistants, and this is part-time workers, so we don't technically have a pay scale, of course, with the county. What I'm showing you tonight is what the board figured up, so that I could bring this to you all. In the future, I will know what to ask for, since they are part-time workers. And so that is figured in of how we came up with, and if you'll go to back to the packet that you had this evening, if you'll go back to page, you didn't get that one.
page 3.
No, it's not page 3, I was thinking you might have a different one. Where it actually shows how much increase each person would take. And we've based it on the years that they've been here as well, so that is why it does look like such a jump from, the year, the 42 of what we would be getting to the proposed of the 50,000, just because of the increase of, some have been here longer than others, so it will do a little bump in their pay.
And there's a shaded area you've got here on the.
That's for my next ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right now, I just am referring to the 103, the assistants.
Okay.
Which is the
I got
first
you.
one.
How
And
many
then
people you have working for you?
I have, counting myself, we have a total of 8 employees.
And how many of them are full?
We have myself and then 3 others, so a total of 4 full-time.
And 4 part-time?
Okay, if y'all are ready, I'll move on to the next line, and that's the librarians, and that will be, that line 12. And as of right now, it's 57,516, or sorry, 67,516, and we're requesting the 80,233. And this includes 3 salaries. One of those is included on the library assistant pay scale, and then my other 2 are not. So the first one I want to talk about, and it is in your packet, and that is the assistant director. So on this next page in my packet, has assistant library director and catalog librarian, as some of that on there. So we are considered a level 3 library, which means that we serve a population between 10,000 and 999,000. So these are totaled from other librarians across the state that have the same level libraries as we do. So that's where we pulled these figures from. And for the assistant library director, I've also included the job description on the next page. The assistant library director not only does the duties of the assistant library director, but also the catalog librarian. And so that's why you see both of those on that one page. That other libraries, those are 2 positions instead of 1. So I've included both, so you can see how much the average assistant director makes throughout the state at our same level, and then also how much the catalog librarian makes at the same level. And majority is that they have 2 separate positions. So just to give you the reasons why we started it. So if you'll go back to the pay scale paperwork that I put in the packet, over where it says library assistant director, it's the 3rd one over. So the board met, and instead of saying where they would like the person or this position to be at this moment, they looked at it as if someone was a new hire, where would we want them to start at this moment? And they, with the figures that we took from the other libraries and comparable of that, they came up with a starting salary of $30,000, which would be an hourly rate of $15.39. The reason why number 4 on that step B is highlighted is because that is currently, where the individual who's in this position, how many years they've been there. So that's why that has been marked out, so you would know what is actually being asked. And then we can move on next. If you'll go later on in your packet, we have got the technology coordinator, and I did the same for it. It's a little bit shorter of one. And I compared it, like I said, to others that are level 3 librarians, in this position. And the board agreed that if a person was to start at this position today, they would like their starting salary to be at $26,000. The person who is currently in this position has been in the position for 9 years, so therefore that's why the increase looks so large. And I've also included in this packet their job description as well. And then the third person who is included with the librarian, a line item, they fall under the library assistant's pay scale. And so that's where that is coming to play as well. And do y'all have any questions for that line item?
So this pay scale you've given us, that's your recommended,
That's our recommended,
That's your
yes.
recommendation.
That's the board approved so that I could bring to the committee tonight.
This is what the library board approved.
This is what the library board approved, but of course it's not been approved by the commissioners.
Right.
But this is what they approved for me to ask.
you've got 3 people that fit into line 12.
Yes, there are 3 people who fit into line 12. Those are all full-time employees.
And how many have you got fit into line 11?
Line 11 is the 4 part-time. And then I'm line 10,
Right. 1 on there.
yes.
So on line 12, you're going from 66.5 basically to 80,000, 933.
Yes, it'll be an increase of around 13 is what it will.
On page 3, the bottom line, that 23,000, that's your total increase, correct?
Yes. But I will get into other line items that kind of offset it as well, and where it is really where we're not, I mean, we are requesting the money, but there are different things that we have taken out as well to offset that a little bit.
Yeah.
So the increase for your total budget is 23,260.
That includes the offset, right?
No, it does not.
It does not include offset?
No, it does not.
Okay.
Really, my total asking would be the $7,895.
That's the total new money then.
Total new money is that $7,895.
All right.
And as I go through
And
the
that
line
includes
items-
these step.
That includes that, and I will, once I get through my lower lines, I'll show where we're pulling that from.
23,000 is a salary increase.
That's
but
all
it-
salary
But it
increase.
doesn't include the offset.
It does not include the
Okay,
offset,
I got you.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
okay?
Go ahead.
And then, so of course longevity pay changed because I'm the new director and the previous director was here and getting it, so it's decreased as well. And then if you will look at line 14, let's see, yes, 14, which is overtime pay. So currently there's, this current year that we're in, it's $3,000. We're requesting that to be removed. We don't see the need to have overtime. We have, yep. Not workman's compensation. We have it where they can do comp time is what I'm looking for. And to be honest, if we are not, for me, if we are not meeting our needs with the hours that we are open and we are given, then that's something that I need to address with my staff. We have a weekly and a daily schedule now, so they know that they have the parameters to get what they need to get done in. So that is one of the offsets, so we will no longer, so that's a minus 3,000. And then if we get down to line 17. So line 17 is the employee independent insurance. Being that there was a change in the director's position, I will be completely open and upfront. I do not need the insurance and I did not take it. And so that alone dropped us from having $43,696, and now it's going to be $27,828. So that's where our big offset comes
Savings.
into. That's where a lot of the savings come into. And at that bottom of the second page, or the third page, excuse me, you will see that it's $15,321 is, that offset. And so over in that next little part, that's where it shows the 7,895 is what would be added to what we currently have, which is that 280.
That is a good thing, for your budget, but you can't count on that if you have to hire a new employee.
Right, right. But I believe, and I could be speaking wrong, other than myself,
You probably don't need to say
Yeah,
any further
yeah,
than that,
yeah.
but I understand what you're saying. But that's something that you probably need to just kind of account for, that if you have to hire a new employee,
Right.
you could have a increase in that
can.
new equipment.
Yes, absolutely. And then if we move down, cause everything else is staying the same, or it's between, you know, the social security, dental insurance and all of that. But if we move down to line, 23, communication, that went up a little bit from this year, and that's just because prices of, you know, all of that go up. And then we also have a decrease in dues and membership, which is that next one, which is line 24. We had 450, we technically only need 405, so that's a savings of $45. And then, on line 29, which is our postal charges, we currently have 200. We don't need that anymore. We send books through, we used to have a program that we needed to buy postage, and that's not needed anymore. So we've moved that down to 100, and we have put that into line 32, which is custodial supplies, where it was 1,400, we have moved that to 1,500. And then other than that, everything in the budget is remaining the same from this previous year.
Very thorough report, Gracie.
So the comp time, so you got your schedule figured out where there is no overtime?
There is no overtime.
Oh, so
I mean, right now, yes, there is, but, starting in July, there won't be overtime. It'll just go into comp time. And they would be able to take that time off and be paid.
And you don't anticipate overtime in the coming fiscal year.
Because like I said earlier, that would fall to me of that I have not managed our time wisely. And so that would be something that I would have to look at my staff and, you know, myself and my staff. So,
Adjust.
and adjust, yes.
Is your staff full now?
I have a full staff. And they are, they will be getting certified, and be certified through the state, hopefully by the end of this fiscal year, if not the next. There's a new program that the state requires us to do. So,
Gracie, you did a good job.
thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Gracie, we appreciate it.
Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you for preparing.
Thank you
this,
for your board.
Yes,
Back
yes,
to you.
I'm very appreciative that they came out and supported me.
I I'm pretty rough on some of them, but they'll be all right.
Alright, well, thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, we're going to page 6, county coroner. Farrell?
Yes, sir. All right, as far as the coroner itself, the only line item that changed in that was the medical and dental services. That's where the autopsies come from. The autopsies now are around $1,900, correct, Heather? And, this has been an unusual year. I think we've already went over that amount, but again, it's been an unusual year. There were overdoses, suicide, things like that, that we have to go to autopsy. In a normal year, it's usually somewhere around 12 to 14.
What's it been this year so far? They said the other night.
Yeah, I think we're at 14 or 15 already.
Around 32,000 in
Yeah, so that's 16. We still got 2 more months to go.
Right.
I was gonna say, that's nothing that you can
Can't
guess
control
at.
it, no.
No, you can't control that.
Required by the state to order autopsies on certain deaths, so.
All right, any questions on the county coroner budget? Very short. If not, we'll move to page 7, the larger budget, ambulance emergency medical services. Still moving Farrell.
Okay, gentlemen.
7 and 8.
Yes, sir. Medical personnel there, I'm under the 2022, 2023, the current step scale is the budget that I work under right now.
Where you at now? Page
I'm on-
9?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well,
Page 7.
I'm looking at mine, I'm sorry. I've got some stuff wrote down in mine, so.
You look at this, Greg.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, all right.
sorry.
Which one?
Page 7.
Under the medical personnel, the step is included. The step is a total of 7,580. And I'm gonna go through the line items if there's increases in, if there's any question about the others, just stop me. The other, diesel fuel, down at the very bottom of my budget down there, line item 412. We increased that by about $5,000. I think you guys know the reason for that. Currently, we only have 2 diesels. We've kinda got them parked right now, running the gasoline units. Okay, so hopefully we can continue to do that unless we have maintenance or one of the units goes out. Under the, drugs and medical supplies, line item 413, there's about a $4,000 increase in that line item. And that's due to the fact of the cost of, medical supplies going up. Before the pandemic, we were paying about $8 or $9 for a box of gloves. We're now paying $20 to $25 for a box of gloves. That's just one thing, you know, that's something that we use on every patient we deal with, so, you know, that cost doubled there. Under the gasoline, there again, we increased that $12,000. I think that's self-explanatory once again. Hopefully the fuel will go down, but we did not budget enough last year. But, tires and tubes, we went up just $1,000 on those. We usually run through 2 sets of tires a year on each ambulance. Total increase in the budget is under the current step scale there is $38,590, and most of those I just highlighted there.
38 what?
$38,590. That's where the step scale increase. Also, I give all you guys a copy of a pay survey. You'll see some figures over there under the department request. Gentlemen, there's a shortage of EMTs and paramedics, and that's across the state. We've seen these hourly rates skyrocket in the last year and a half. Last year I come to you guys and asked for a raise. I think we got, a 75-cent raise on the EMTs and I think it was $1.10 raise on the paramedics. And you can see where they're at. These counties that I surveyed here, they're counties that surround us, and they're counties that are in similar size to us that run the same amount of ambulances. Of course, you can see the average between those 10 counties on the EMT and paramedic, and then you can see where we're at. Montgomery County, county that surrounds us, last November, they were 29 employees short. And they were shutting down ambulances and stations daily. They give their personnel a 22% increase up there, and today they're still 20 short.
What do you think the end result of all this is, Greg?
Well, it was getting bad. We were starting to see this before the COVID, and then when the COVID hit, it just seems like it disappeared. One of the things I'd like to point out is the private side of this down there. Vanderbilt Ground Ambulance moved into Clarksville. You can see what they're paying the EMTs and paramedics. First call has been in Clarksville. You can see what they're paying the EMTs and paramedics. These young people that are getting out of school today, they're jumping straight on board with them. So.
Either one of those have, benefit?
I'm certain that Vanderbilt does because it's ran through the hospital.
Sure.
First call, I don't think so. I think it's a paycheck and you're out.
Just curious.
But the younger generation doesn't
Yeah.
think about the benefits side of that.
No, they don't.
And, you know, if we can't get the EMTs, then we can't get the paramedics, because that's where we get our paramedics, is from the EMTs. I fought for this deal right here for 2 or 3 weeks now, trying to get this in a range that this county could afford. And what you see, the numbers that you see over there to the left, to the right, the 655, that's for the medical personnel, and that's 19 people there, guys. That's 19 employees under the medical personnel. It's also it's 18 under the overtime pay. The assistant director is figured in with the medical personnel there.
Medical personnel, how many now?
It's 19.
19.
Yes. But,
Where on this scale
yes, sir.
would be realistic for you that we would try to match these counties up here? I mean, I know you'd like to go top, I understand that.
No, I don't. That'll put us out business.
But, where would be a realistic place that you would?
Well, the figures that you're seeing right there, and this is where I started. I started at $13 an hour with the EMTs, and I started at $15.50 an hour on the paramedics.
13 the EMT and how much on the paramedic?
$15.50.
1550.
Yes, sir. And that.
Give me them figures again. Have you got them on?
13, which is still at, well, we'll be tied for last there.
That'd be Houston County and not quite Henry County.
Yes, sir. But let me say this, while I was having my conversations with these directors, 4 to 5 out of those 10 said, now look, we're doing the same thing that you're doing. We're trying to get our rates increased. So, but with those figures there that I give you, those hourly rates, that cost, or that increased, or will increase our budget $106,634. So, you know, I've been budgeting here for 22 years, and I kind of know what I can do and what I can't do when I come in here. I mean, that's just the way it is. So, I am open for suggestions, but here's the thing with my concern, if we don't pay what we do have there, we're gonna lose them, we're not gonna be able to replace them at the rates that we're paying. Period. If Montgomery County can't hire them for $15.77 and $19.44 an hour, we're surely not gonna hire. But when you start dealing with this overtime and giving these big increases in pay, you're looking at $200-something thousand to get them there. Plus the benefits, plus the taxes and benefits.
When we talked about this last year, I kinda felt like we were putting a Band-Aid on a cut on your arm. And I kinda think this may be what this is too. You're kinda trying to keep your current staff working
Right.
instead of them running off somewhere else.
Well, fellas, I'm an employee of you guys, and I'm a boss to me.
That's right.
So I've gotta try to make you guys happy and them too, in this process.
Absolutely.
So, I'll give you my suggestions, you may or may not like it. And the best thing that I could come up with after days of spending trying to figure this thing is we, across the board, put the EMTs at $14, and that's from every EMT we got. That's a pretty good increase to all of you. And we put the paramedics at $17 an hour, and that'll put us in the 5th and 6th spot of these two things up there. If you look at I think the step scale that we're currently in right now, I think you have a copy of that. I think the highest 20-year paramedic there is at 16-something an hour.
Page 9.
1609.
Okay. So, what I propose is to start our new step scale at 14 and 17. Go from there. Our step scale is a 1% for the first 10 years and a 0.5% for the next 10 years. And the reason that is, once again, is because of the overtime. That's what gets us in a mess. If you look down here at the bottom, our highest paid EMT today at 17 years of service is $12.74 an hour. Our highest paramedic, 20, that's supposed to be 20, that's my mistake there, is at $16.76 an hour. Neither one are at the average starting pay of these 10 counties after 20 years of service in our county. So if we went with the 14 and the 17 across the board, we would see an increase of about $140,000 on it. With the step scale at 13 and 1550, we would see $106,000 increase. And that's what it does when you start scooting these people up the scale, paying the guys from 1 year to 15 to 16 years. And you start adding that overtime in there, that gets into money fast. I talked to two of my eldest, one EMT, one paramedic today, about this, if they would have a problem with the guy beside of them being there for a year versus him being there for 20 years. I said, would you have a problem with this? Both of them told me that they would not have a problem with that. That was my concern in doing that, was stepping on toes that the guys have been there with us and stuck it out with us. And here's one of the reasons, because the one guy that's the eldest there, he tops out. He's topped out this year. He's gonna sit there at $16 an hour unless the county gives the COLA raises.
I was looking at these counties you used, I don't see any rhyme or reason of them. Some of those counties have got a hospital, some of them don't. You would think the ones that don't probably are gonna pay more, but it don't look that way. Are they just trying to get the pay where they can keep somebody?
That's exactly it. It's not about hiring today, it's about retaining the people that we do have.
I understand.
And that's what we,
I understand.
when you talk about the hospital, then when you're paying for your hospital through this ambulance service, basically what you're doing.
So if I get this right, you're trying to increase this pay scale for retention more than recruitment.
I think we can possibly get people in the door at 14 17, but my thing here is my doors have been open over there for 2 years now. I've had one person walk in and fill out an application, one person. And of course, you know they got a job, but I lost one last year too. But if I can't get nobody in the front door, I need to shut that back door where I don't let anybody get out.
That's right. That's right. That's a good way to put it.
How many people are you short?
I'm not short anybody. I'm one of the few services that hadn't shut down an ambulance or not, but now I'm not threatening you, but if we don't get something done here today, we're gonna lose people. I'll just be, because if you look at where they can go to right there, there's counties that they drive to for the difference in money.
Green, what about your charging, your rate charges, can you go up any on them? Then it maybe offset a little bit of this, or not?
Well, we just did a pretty good chunk, if you remember, back, like this time last year. So it's not about what we charge, it's about what the insurance companies allows. Some of your private insurance companies will pay 100% of that bill. But what we have to depend on here is our primary payer is Medicare. And the people. It don't make a difference if we bill somebody $5,000, they're only gonna pay us about $700 or $800.
And that's what percent of your calls?
Medicare, about 62, 63% of our calls are Medicare bills.
Well, if they only pay that, Medicare only pay that, the patient's responsible for the rest of it?
No,
or
sir.
You're not, I didn't think that,
Well-
I didn't think it was, but.
The Medicare, let's just say $800 is the figure. Medicare approved $800, they pay 80% of that. If you have a secondary insurance, they pay that 20%. If you have Medicare only, then you get billed at 20%. That normally winds up being $100 to $150 that those patients have to pay.
Do you always get it? Do you always get it?
No. Just gonna be honest with you. Well, you gotta take into consideration, though, that's part of this business also. If we collected everything that we were allowed, we still wouldn't. We wouldn't recoup our budget, we wouldn't come close to it. That's just the nature of the beast. We don't have the call volume in this county to necessitate what we spend. And I don't care who that is, me or anybody else, but we have to have more staff here in this county because we don't have a hospital. If we have a hospital in this county, we could run this unit, run this county with 2 ambulances. We could knock off $500,000 right there in personnel. That's why I say you're paying for this, you're paying this ambulance service because you don't have a hospital here.
I always said ambulance service is very crucial, because we haven't got a hospital here. We haven't got it here. You had to
Service would be hard to do without.
you had to go 30 miles anyway you go, or 35, 40.
I think, well, average round trip, we average right now 79 miles on your ambulances per call. We average right now about 6 calls a day, so you can figure that. I think, the other day I was looking at, I think we put we average putting 157,000 miles on 3 ambulances a year.
How many calls have you had this year from January?
From January, let's stay right in it.
Ballpark.
We're in the 4th month, 600, 500, 600. We don't transport all those calls. Transport's just the key word when we're talking about money. That's the key word. We respond to a lot of calls that we get called for things that people are unheard of. We gotta go. They call that 911 line, we gotta go. So we don't actually transport every call that's made. We will respond to close to 2,000 calls a year. We'll transport 1,500 to 1,600 of those patients. You got wrecks that we get called to that nobody's hurt, bystanders passing, they call 911. We do a lot of blood draws now for the sheriff's department. And things like that, that's non-transport cost. But back to this, I don't have the figures on there today. I kinda wanted to see where you guys might wanna go with this before I've done a lot of figures. But without Heather's figures of the benefits plus the employee taxes, that will increase it another $8 to $10. And I can come back with that figure, but I didn't wanna throw a bunch of figures out there tonight, just confuse everybody, and I kinda wanted your guidance on where you wanted to sit or where you wanted to put these figures. Or do you wanna leave them like they are? If you do the step plus the cost of living, if you do that to the remainder of the employees, a 2% with this group, and the cost of living, you're looking at around probably 40-something thousand. So that number is not that bad when you look at that, because we won't be getting that. We're not asking for the cost of living plus this increase in pay.
Anybody on the committee have a question, Mr. Barrow? I know you don't enjoy coming out here and requesting this, but
I
you
do
feel
every year, you know, so.
you feel like it's necessary and, to do your job. And so there's nothing wrong with your request, but what we'll wind up doing, I have no idea.
That's fine, I don't expect you to make that decision, because I don't have correct figures, but
No.
I will get what you asked me to do, and I'll come back.
Agree, to be fair to you and, the personnel, well, we can't really make a judgment call right now. We gotta see what the sheriff and everyone are asking for,
Yes, sir.
and get it all together, and then we'll know what we can do, what we can't do.
But, like I say, I can come back with that other figure, I don't know when you've got another big one, I'll be more than happy to come back with your correct figure on the amounts that I give you tonight, on that figure, if that's what you guys see fit. If you want me to figure something else, I'll do that also.
Well, I do know personnel getting harder to find and keep, I know that. And it ain't only in the ambulance service, it's in, a lot of different areas, you know. I don't know what the end result's gonna be of all this. But
Well, I do think that this will suffice us for a little while. I do. I don't know that this county can really get much higher than that. But it's one of the worst parts of my job, is having to come up here and beg for more money every year. I don't like doing that, so I'd like to fix it if you do.
I know you don't, I wouldn't enjoy it either.
And I'd like to give you an answer right now on what's what, but I can't do it.
I
Let's see
didn't-
what we got going on.
Yes, sir, I didn't expect that.
And I don't consider it begging either.
No, it's not big, it's doing the job.
It's
Well, like I told you guys a while ago, I'm an employee of yours, and I'm boss to those guys.
You're the man in the middle.
Yes, sir.
no, I don't look at it as begging, it's just making a request and trying to work with it, you know.
Well, I put a lot of time in trying to figure out something that we both be happy with.
Right.
That's where I'm at.
We appreciate your report, and your presentation is a good one. I think this committee will do all they can to help you.
And I believe,
That's all I can say right now. It may not be enough, but I think.
I think the mayor and I have had several discussions over this, and he's probably tired of me coming down there, but, he has listened to my concerns, and he's tried to help address those.
Anybody else have a question at this point? I know we're gonna have some more to go, but do we have any more at this point? Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor. Go ahead, if you got something else to say.
Well,
Yeah, yes,
I've got my capital project there.
yeah, it's.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right, page 11. Page
Yeah,
11.
that's a, gentleman, that's an ambulance remount. My last ambulance remount was, 2 years ago, it was around 82,000. one of the guys that does the remounts. I spoke to him prior to turning this budget in, or before turning this budget in. He said his cost is going up about 13%, the cost of the vehicles. The remount is when we buy a new truck, put an existing box on it and refurbish that box, okay? He also told me that if you guys approve this and we placed a PO in sometime in July, that it would be, December of 2024 before we could get this truck.
Oh, wow.
So it's not gonna be within this budget year because of the shortage of trucks. But I spoke with Heather about this, and she said to go ahead and budget it. They can carry that money over, into the next budget year. You know, like I said, I'm not sure, I went ahead and priced it high because who knows what the vehicles are gonna do. Also, there's an equipment line item down there in the auto pulses, and what this is, gentlemen, it's an automated CPR device. It straps across the patient's chest, and it does continuous positive chest compressions for hours upon hours, if need be.
Every ambulance has one of these.
Well, the 3 that are staffed, we've got 5, but I didn't see there was a need for that kind of money sitting on something.
But this will update all of them?
Yes, sir.
This is something we looked at in oversight committee.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's one of the things that was discussed in there. Gentlemen, these things they come out about 5 or 6 years ago. I've been kind of watching and seeing how they work, and they're very effective. They're FDA approved. Doing chest compressions for 45 minutes in the back of an ambulance going 80 miles an hour down the road is a tough job. I think Eric knows, and I think Terry Fitchie has probably done that time.
I've been there.
When there's times when you've got one person in the back of the ambulance, a medic back there, that's got a lot of responsibilities about getting the patient intubated, getting drugs in, getting IV lines started. And he's having to use one hand to do this and another hand to do chest compressions. That's not very effective.
And going into them curves.
Yes, sir.
Hard.
And, most of the time, we get law enforcement, well, their guys to drive, both of our guys, we get the fire service guys that help us. But there's times at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, these guys don't show up, and I don't blame them, but that's when these come in handy, so.
This actually takes the place of a person, doesn't it?
It does. So, that's,
How long have these been out, really?
they've been out about 6 years now, and, actually, I'll tell you a story about it. I don't wanna hold anybody up, I see the women back there behind me. I don't guess you mind if I talk about your brother. Okay. We had a patient, with her brother, en route to the hospital. He went into cardiac arrest on us. The ambulance pulled over right across the Montgomery County line up there. Buck Habit, Montgomery County was coming by. They seen us pulled over. They grabbed their auto pulse off their unit. They put it out on him. He was not breathing, did not have a pulse. 5 or 6 miles down the road, we regained the pulse. 2 days later, he walked out of the hospital.
Okay, great.
So, there you go.
Save one life.
That's worth 52,000 up there, excuse me, so, but,
Living proof right
that's
there.
right. If I know who's gonna talk about it, I'll see if I can have him here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farrer, appreciate it. All right, next we got emergency management, Mr. Matthews. Page 12.
All right, gentlemen. Well, not to be, I guess not to be the bearer of bad news, but we're in a very similar situation as the ambulance service. And we'll come back to that in just a moment. I just want to talk about a couple increases in the budget outside of pay. So let's look at that first off. Most of these are just, for instance, health insurance is up about 14,000. Obviously, that just is what it is. That's over the last year's budget. And then also the only other significant change would be in communication, and that's up, and so that's It's actually gonna be pass-through money. 911 will reimburse the county for that expenditure, but we do have to budget for that. So that's really the biggest changes there. On the pay, if you all wanna look at this pay study that we had done, that I gave you prior to the meeting. I did most of the surrounding counties, and also, chose Crockett. And I tried to call a couple others, but I never got a call back from them. I chose Crockett just simply because they're very similar in population and size. But as you can see, kind of the same story as EMS. We're right down there near the very bottom outside of Houston County. You know, we've been very fortunate over the last several months. We are fully staffed. However, you know, all of these calls, all of these emergency and even non-emergency calls start with these dispatchers. That's where it starts. They're the first link in the chain to getting someone help. And we have to retain quality and trained people. They're doing more than sitting there answering the telephone. They are highly trained professionals. And it takes a while to get them trained to that. And so it's worth a lot, at least to me as a department head, and I think to us as a community, to keep these trained professionals where we're not having to always be in a training mode. And it's a huge learning process. They have to know something about every agency we dispatch for. They have to know about the road network. It's just a lot to being a dispatcher. And I believe they deserve more than what they're being paid. I know last year we were in this same situation. I think we can all agree though, over the last 12 to 16 months, things have changed drastically with inflation, pay scales across the board. To echo kind of what Greg said, all of these counties I called, they're all redoing their pay scales this year. So this is only gonna change. Just come back from a conference the last 3 days, talked to several directors. Everybody is shorthanded. Nobody can keep a full staff. And they're all trying to up their pay. I presented 2 different options here in my budget. One option is just keep on trucking with the current step scale. And that's about a 24,000 increase. And then I also proposed a new step scale where we're starting at $14 an hour, and for dispatchers, and $15 an hour for a supervisor. And the cost to implement that over the other scale would be about 39,000 with some change. You see that there at the bottom of that page.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
How many of these telecommunicators, 1 and 2? The 2 is the
Yeah,
supervisor?
so you're right. So 2 is the supervisor. There's 2 of those. There's one per shift. The rest of them are telecommunicator ones. So I guess I'm in the same situation that EMS is in. I'm here looking for suggestions. I'm looking for proposals from you all, thoughts.
So you're fully staffed now?
We are fully staffed at the moment, yes, and we have been since about October. But
Does this 39,008 increase, does that include benefits and everything?
That's everything.
Everything, that's bottom line figure?
Correct.
Okay.
That's to go to the 14.
That's if you go to 14 and 15?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Do you mind if I ask the EMA question?
No.
EMA, are you collecting all your fees? Do you have all your revenue coming in? Is Dover, I know there was some dispute about Dover and the fees, the dispatching fees they were supposed to pay. I think it was $15,000 at the beginning of the year and $44,000 was what the agreement that we, or $43,700, I'd say. But then they asked us to go to the state to get us an analysis done. And the state said that the town of Dover should be paying about $57,000 for dispatch fees to the county.
Correct.
So are we receiving those fees from the town of
To
Dover?
my knowledge, unless the finance director has other knowledge, we have not received anything this fiscal year from the town of Dover.
Since July 1st?
Correct, yes.
What about Cumberland City?
We have from Cumberland City, correct, yes.
they come with city paid full, they paid up?
They paid what?
They
what
pay
was-
by quarter, so they
By
pay full
quarter?
by quarter,
Okay.
they paid, yeah. They paid everything I've billed. I've not billed Dover because there's no agreement, they,
You don't know what to do.
They have not signed an agreement
Yeah, they
with
will
us.
not sign
This
it.
is-
What is the holdup on that side?
I think that they're just disputing the cost, is my understanding.
But you're not even-
We had CTAS and MTAS come in at the town of Dover's request, to do a study, a fee study. And that's where the number came from, was from CTAS and MTAS, and so that was sent to Dover. And so far, I've had no communication back from them after their calculating from that, so.
So that first number that the mayor said, that 40,
That was a number I came up with based on call volume.
based on call volume. And then when the study come back, it was higher?
It was. You know-
Mr. Mayor, let me ask you a question, if you don't mind me asking you, but where do you think this is gonna go? Is this gonna go in litigation, or?
Well, I asked the EMA that today, what is the county's recourse? And, you know, this is not an unusual situation. Apparently, it's going on in Houston County today too, so they have the same thing with Tennessee Ridge.
Well, eventually, it's gonna have to be solved some way.
Well, I mean, if we could just get the town of Dover to pay the 15,000 from originally, from July 1st, well, that's, you know, a big chunk of that 25,000
Yeah.
he's asking for his pay raise.
You know, I think we have to provide 911 service. If it's an emergency call, we have to provide that service. The vast majority of the city calls are non-emergency calls. They're traffic stops, they're officer initiated, things like that. And, you know, I'm not sure that we have to do that for free.
Well, there's gotta be a resolution somewhere down the line.
So they have in the past been paying 15,000?
Yes.
yeah, the cost for both Dover and the cost for Cumberland City, I believe it's been the same for at least 12 years since I've been here. I don't think we've ever had an increase. So I guess this year, there was some talk about, you know, potential increase, but,
Call volume has gone up substantially in the last 5 years, not just for Dover, but for countywide. And, you know, we're looking at ways we can recoup some costs, is what it boils down to.
Well, I always said they should, you know, their call volume, they should pay for at least one dispatcher for sure. One complete employee salary.
That's a good plan there.
Yeah, I would concur with that.
But my big question tonight is, if we all concur with one thing, but are they gonna concur with us? And if they don't, where does that leave us? That's mine.
Well, have y'all, Mayor, have y'all ever sat down at the table and talked?
Terry, we tried that one time with the school board, remember?
But what
That was a terrible
no, I'm not talking about all
Yeah.
of it. I'm talking about the mayor sitting down. I'm not talking about us. I remember all that.
That was terrible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can't go that route, but I'm talking about, hey, I'm talking about the head,
Okay.
sitting down at the table.
Mr. Fitch, I mean, the only way I can answer that question is to say that, you know, the EMA calculated that about one dispatcher's cost would be about $47,000 a year with all the benefits and everything included. And so we presented that to the town of Dover, and then the town of Dover didn't like that, and they said they wanted the state to do an analysis. And so they came back, and then we said it was 57,000, that's what the state said. So, you know, we've gone back and forth with the town of Dover, and so I don't know what you're asking.
Well, what I'm saying, have you and the mayor of Dover ever sat down across the table and sat down and talked about this? Y'all never have?
No, the mayor of the town of Dover is not a paid position. I would talk to the city administrator.
Well, that'd be fine.
That's,
too,
now, we've
yeah.
talked about that, we've sat down with the city administrator and the chief of police and talked about it, and we're at the same conclusion. I mean, we have to have dispatching fees. We presented them with 47,000, they didn't like it, they wanted to go to the state, and the state recommended a higher number. So we presented that to them. So we're in a situation now, Mr. Chairman, where we're not collecting any fees from them,
Right.
even the
That's
original
what I say.
15,000. And like you said, and my question to the EMA today is what recourse do we have? It sounds like a question for the lawyer.
That's my question, it may have to be looked at.
But in this last budget, they went over 15,000, right?
That's correct.
In this last year's.
In the last budget, right.
And then the new budget, it would change,
It would change.
yeah.
Is Cummins City, the other municipality, are they paying what you figured, or the state figured, or are they just paying the same?
So they have paid the same. Now, the
Same
state
thing,
did have a
okay.
new figure for them that would, you know, if we decide to move forward with this, it would have to go into effect in July.
In July,
And
right?
It was an increase, it wasn't as
But
substantial.
they're just paying the same scale they've been paying?
Correct.
Okay.
But every, I guess, entity that uses our 911 pays a fee, like even the forestry,
Forest Service, the
TVA,
Forest Service does pay a fee, yes.
have their, do you know, have,
They're paying about 46,000 a year.
3,600 a month.
Yeah.
how many calls?
Their call volume is way less,
Forestry.
way less than the city of Dover. Maybe 500 a year.
So they're basically funding it one
They
employee.
are, they are.
Well, the volume of calls with the city and county, the volume of calls, what percentage volume
So Dover Police Department is our number 2 customer. The sheriff's office is the number 1 customer, then Dover Police Department, and then the ambulance service. So they do more than the ambulance service does. And again, the vast majority of the Dover calls are not 911 calls. I mean, they have some, obviously. The vast majority are other things, non-emergency calls, they're officer-initiated calls, things of that nature. So it's not people calling 911. We have to handle those. We have to handle the 911 calls. The other stuff is debatable, I think.
So, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I may, with what the EMA just said there, when you say the other calls are debatable, does that mean that you would not accept them? There's a way out there that you could change frequencies, not accept them, or what do you mean when it's debatable?
Well, I don't think that we have any sort of, legal, standing that we have to dispatch for this agency on non-emergency stuff. I don't think we have to handle traffic stops. I don't think we have to handle stuff for the water department and things of that nature that we're currently doing. I do think we have to handle the 911 calls.
Yeah, you're talking all that,
Well,
just
I
go.
think we're getting off of fiscal, kind of getting off that. Don't we have to have a emergency service committee? Something, public service.
Public
Public
safety.
safety.
Public safety committee, I think probably they need to meet on this and bring up some
Recommendation.
recommendations or guidelines as how they wanna go on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
That's just me, the rest of them may not agree with this.
To finish my question.
Sure.
Have the other entities voluntarily produced a rate increase in the past, I guess Ms. Heather said 12 years that she's been here?
Yeah, I don't,
Has anybody,
the Forest Service has always been that amount.
I believe, we got the.
And I think they're paying probably
a lot?
a lot more than, you know, but that's okay. The only other agencies that are paying would be City of Dover and Cumberland City. Everything else is county affiliated, if that makes sense.
Yes, okay.
well, you would have to answer the 911 call, whether they
Regardless,
live in the city,
absolutely,
county.
sure.
Well, I mean, the people live in the city, you gotta answer them.
You know, they are paying, all those residents are paying a 911 fee on their phone bill for
Right.
911 service. However, what I'm talking about is kind of outside of the realm of 911 service. It's non-emergency dispatching services, the water department, you know, non-emergency police department stuff, things of that nature.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
One final point
Yeah.
I might make. Mr. EMA, this was all initiated when Dover made the move to separate from the fire department and create their own police force. Is that kind of what the catalyst was for this?
That was
whole-
when this started.
That's when this all started. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other questions, Mr. Matthews? We understand your request, we appreciate you being here. It's kind of like I told the ambulance service, we gotta take all this and sift through it and see what we do. We'll do the best we can.
I know you will, and I appreciate you all listening and hearing our concerns.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to page 16 with the sheriff department. got 16, 17, and 18 on this one, fellas.
I will start, sir, on 16.
Okay, kind of tell us where you are now.
All right, I'm gonna start up here at the top, at 16, on the county official administrator. All those salaries, obviously, I don't have anything to do with that. I'm not asking any increases right now on any, as far as pay. That's pretty much the same except what the state has added. Anything with, so all that is, really, we haven't asked for anything. The only thing, if you go down to 169, where it says part-time personnel.
All right.
I have asked for a $5,000 increase in that. And that part-time personnel is my court officers. And also the actual 5,000 increases is for not only the courts, but for servants in civil process. We way behind. It's hard to get caught up on the civil process. We have so much we have served, and we serve the delinquent taxes too. I started serving that a few years ago, so we really get behind. Seem like we get more eviction notices, and all these things have to be served. So, in addition, if I got someone that can serve about 8 hours more a week, part-time personnel, then that helps us. So I was asking for the $5,000 for that. The other part-time personnel remains the same. Go all the way down, there's nothing, increases that we are actually asking for on the insurance and social security or other salaries or anything. There's not any increases out on that page.
All right, go page 17.
17, starting with employee Medicare, we're going down. Communications, we did ask for a little bit increase in that, Lucy. And I'm not sure.
307.
307, yeah, 307.
Everything's just gone home.
Everything, the data processing, that's remaining services are pretty much the same. License, maintenance, repair, services, really are staying the same pretty much on everything. See any increases that we're really asking for.
Gasoline.
Yeah, gasoline, we'll get that, yeah, going down, we'll go down with postal service, tow-in service, and I'll say a couple things too, and I don't wanna get off too far track. We did go up a little bit on our towing service for 1,000, but, one thing about our towing service is what we're doing. You know, we are seizing more cars and towing more vehicles, but, on these towing services, what we started doing, we started this actually, not just this year, last year. When we seize a drug vehicle, we do all we can not to call a record, because we will drive in ourselves, because even if we're awarded that vehicle, we still gotta pay the towing fee. So we tow that vehicle in, so that way, and we drive it in, so we're not, the county's not out of $200 towing. Even though they wind up getting the vehicle, we're not out to towing on that. Travel, nothing, animal food supplies for the canines is pretty much all the same. Gasoline, yes, we asked for a little bit of increase in gasoline, and we hope that's gonna be enough.
That's a stab in the dark.
That's a stab in the dark, exactly right. Law enforcement supplies now, we stayed the same on it. Tires and tubes, we did ask for an increase of 5,000, just for the simple tires and things have gone up. I think Mr. Watkins can attest to that it's gone up. Uniforms, we did ask for a $2,000 increase in uniforms, just for the simple fact that, when the last time we ordered stuff, it's going up. It's just for it's increase. We're not actually trying to buy a lot more uniforms, it's just an increase. Law enforcement equipment is pretty much the same as it was from last year. pretty much on that, covers that pay, a lot of increase. I'm sorry.
Do we want to talk about our capital stuff
Well,
in the sheriff's office, or do you want to wait till the end to go over that?
When he's through with this part of the budget.
Let me go down to page 18, it's pretty much the same. You will see a $5,000 request on 790.92, and that is $5,000, but that was actually a donation, that was given to us, and we've had it, and I'm planning on using a little bit here. That was Paul and Prisoner donation from the animal, people, they give it to us, and, well, we're gonna probably build a third kennel out there sometime, well, the way concrete and everything is, it might be $5,000, but I don't look for it to be that much, but we're gonna put that much in there, so, we're gonna work on that. Right now, we have two, and we're gonna actually look at doing the third. All right, skipping on down, you wanna go over the capital now, Dave?
That's gonna be fine.
That's our two.
We should go ahead and cap
That's next on our packet, that's page,
19, so.
page 20, 19 and 20.
Well, if you look at our projection there, you know, I think initially we asked for 2 new vehicles. This previous year, we had 1 vehicle cut, so we are asking for 3 new vehicles. That figure you see there that's the cost of the vehicle and also the equipment that it costs is about $731,000. And that is for 3 new SUVs. That costs us about $33,831. It's gonna cost us about $10,800 to upfit them. And before I go any further, and I think the sheriff would want me to mention, this past year in drug seizures, now, I know we're not up here telling you that we're policing for profit, because we're not. But based on the seizures, based on the drug arrests that we've made, we have taken in enough money that we have purchased 2 Ford Tauruses to replace the aging transport vehicles that we have at a cost of about, the first one was $10,009, the second one was $9,500. Those are replacing the 2010 and 2009 Crown Vics that we were using as transport cars. We got those through Missouri, and that's the cost of the car, the upfit and everything. That was money that we made through confiscations. It cost the county no money. We were able to pay for that. Additionally, we were able to purchase a 2017 Ford Explorer for an admin car that had a cost of $20,500. Again, at no cost to the county. That was through drug seizures. And then on top of that, here recently, we purchased a 2022 Polaris Ranger. The cost of that vehicle was $19,672. Also, we did get an additional canine at a cost of $5,000. So if you add all that up, we essentially got all this equipment for about $65,000 at no cost to the county. We were able to offset those costs with confiscations that we made during the drug arrests that these deputies are out there making on a day-to-day basis. I think that's pretty substantial. Then also, if you drop down to the second capital thing, we are trying to get some additional parking over there at the sheriff's office. Initially, Ronnie Sumner came in at a cost of $25, but it looks like that number has gone up. That's just for the materials. He's gonna do the work as far as, grading the site, getting us some additional parking over there for $40,000. So we'll have a little bit more parking. That should cover that covers our 2 capital project reports.
And we'll talk maybe a little bit more about the drug fund, but, on the mine board, when we came in, and I say we, that's like, Dale and I think our drug fund was about $6,000 when I came in. And I think we're gonna be able to put about $50,000 more this year, this next budget year, into our drug fund. And like I said, we're not policing for profit, but we are making the drug people pay and bringing drugs into this county. Also, the Ford Tauruses we bought from Missouri, the jail hadn't had any new cars since I've been here, and they like long trips, so we were able to furnish that. That way we wouldn't have to come back and ask y'all for cars. So, So, and this worked out real well, and we were able to get some good vehicles and a good price, and we were able to pay for them.
All right, go over to the jail on page 21.
Jail, all right, it's pretty much the same thing as far as, personnel, in-service go down. Kenny can help me on see anything that, we're actually, asking for any increases in any significant. If there's any increases really on, maybe some maintenance agreement increases, and that's went up, and listed on 334. We are asking for a little bit more there.
What is that?
Is for IT. So, when we put these, we're putting in because they're going up on us, not we're requesting a lot or anything really new on the maintenance agreements. Pretty much the same. Travel, we have went up a little bit on travel as far as schools and things. $1,500, I think we're asking for more, and that's just because of the gas and the travel. Gas, hotels, and some other things went up, so that was the cost from that. Custodial supplies, same thing there. We did ask for $2,000, $8,000, $10,000, same reason. Just everything's going up. Drugs and medical supplies, pretty much the same. Electricity, we're gonna try to operate on the same exact amount we did last year, it was $65,000. Food supplies, one of those food supplies that's got marked there, officer size, pretty much the same thing. Prisoner clothing, the same thing. Propane, we've actually asked for a little bit of increase in the propane up to $5,000. I hope that's gonna cover it. We don't know, propane's went up, so I don't know. It's kinda like gasoline, but we did add that. Nothing else there really, any change.
How about the 15,000 for the part-time personnel?
Yes, I'm sorry, I was looking at that. What that is, the reason I'm asking for that is because we run a little short from time to time with correctional officers, and we also are having a lot of transports. We have to call officers in the middle of the night, or we have to put a correctional officer to do some transport. If we do that, if we have to call, we're at the point where we're short, we really can't take a correctional officer out of the tower or out of Central or somewhere to do some transports. So if we call a correctional officer in, we're paying them overtime to do it. So if I can get about $15,000 for an additional part-time person, that person can fill in on transport on an as-need basis. And sometimes we run into that and we have to make transport. We've got multiple transports. So that's what that $15,000 is for. It's a little bit increase in the office equipment. We asked for $1,000 more in that, on 719 on page 22.
All right, got one more, drug
Right, the
fund.
drug fund, already pretty much talked about that. We are asking to put about $53,000 out of our drug fund into that for equipment and some things. And that we'll be able to hopefully buy next year. We're not looking at a lot of things, but we do have that there, and sometimes we have equipment needs that come up, so. And also, we are limited on what we can buy with the drug fund.
But really, the only increase you're asking besides more or less cost of living is this 15,000 for the additional part-time, right?
Yes, sir. And, we need that, really, it's an increase, but I think it'll be offset if we're not having to call people in and pay them overtime and half.
Right.
And that's what we're having to do, so.
All right, Sheriff's Department, jail, drug fund, any questions tonight?
I like the fact that they used the money and stuff they were seizing.
Amen.
That was a good purchase, good purchase.
Big. Very good.
There's one thing I'd like to tell you, I
Yes,
know,
sir.
know, I know we didn't come up here and ask for an increase for our deputies or corrections. I think Kenny can speak that they're down. As a matter of fact, I think we just lost one today. We've been lucky. We've held on to what we started with. We've lost a few here and there, but I will say since the first of this year, we've lost 2 deputies. They went to different jobs. It wasn't in the law enforcement field. And we were lucky enough to be able to replace them with certified officers. But again, I echo what these other gentlemen are saying. People aren't beating down the door to be a deputy here in Stewart County. We have been lucky. Like I said, we either through word of mouth, and we were able to reach out to a couple of people and had them come in, which is a savings. You know, it costs us about $3,800 to send an officer to get them certified. So in that respect, it's a savings for us. But I can tell you that our deputies are getting calls individually to offering the job offers to go to work in Montgomery County. And their starting pay is, depending on your service, it start at 18 and go over $20 an hour. Another incentive that they're offering is you get your take-home card and you don't have to live in Montgomery County. So far, there hadn't been any takers on that, but that's out there. And, you know, I speak with these other, directors that, you know, I see it coming.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle. And, you know, I think these gentlemen deserve more than what they're getting. And I just put that to y'all. I will say this, and I think I verified it, that the city of Erin has increased their debt, their officers. Now understand, they've only got 4 or 5 officers. $5 an hour that they're paying their city officers. And their reasoning behind it, and I don't think they've got anything other than they're just foreseeing this, is if they raise this minimum wage to over $15 an hour, you know, then they're gonna have people that are doing lesser jobs than being a LEO down there that are making the same amount of money that they were making. So they bump their guys up $5 an hour. And I know they don't have near the volume of employees that we have, but still that's pretty substantial.
That's not a done deal yet.
But it's been proposed.
It's been proposed. It ain't been written first time yet.
So that's just something else that's out there.
And let me say one other thing too. We've been lucky to hold on to the guys, and even though in Cheatham County, they live here, Cheatham County, come to work in Cheatham County and drive a patrol car. I think Houston County, the city does that, so that's not a big deal. But one thing I will say, in the commissions, we catch that one back, with the overtime money and the equipment y'all allowed us to get, the deputies tell us they like working here because we're giving them good training, we're giving them good equipment, and we're trying, and they like it. It's not all about the money, you know. If it was money, they just wouldn't be working here, all of them would, but a lot of them can go someplace else, but they're staying here because they like the training, they like the equipment, and I think they're seeing, the sheriff's department thanks to the commission to trying to do what we can for them as far as equipment and training, and that goes a long way to some of them. So, I think they've got a good work environment, and pay, it's always gonna be a pay issue.
Always need more.
I think about, some of your employees that, you know, they have family and raising kids, and, you know, it costs them just like it does everybody else. And sometimes I wonder how they make a living doing it and raising family, you know? I think you had an employee that come up with it.
Yeah, and you know, when you get yourself in a situation where you got a couple of kids you gotta take care of, you're not making money, you gotta go some other places.
Right.
But I want to say thank you for the commissions and to y'all for at least providing equipment and some overtime money for it, because it does make a difference in keeping you guys here.
And we still got a lot of good people here in the county. The people in this county are wonderful people. They'll even help the deputy out if they think they won't.
Sure. They will.
They will. Well, I mean, sure, they will.
About sometimes.
They will. And it's something to say living here in this county.
It is, and, Luckily, one of the deputies we hired was set to go to, Cheatham County, but he wanted to come here. And he was certified, and I think that said a lot, and when we contacted him, he was in the final stage of the process of Cheatham County, and he said, I really want to come to work for y'all, like what's going on and everything, and I said, well, come on.
Most people, if they can stay in Stewart County, they're willing to take a little less to stay at home.
I know we've had teachers that decided to go to Montgomery County, it wasn't long, they wanted to come back. They wanted to come back.
I know y'all in a tough situation, and everybody.
Well, we're gonna do the best we can.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna do the best we can with, you know.
And I always say this, and I thought we talked about it, I said, I don't try to ask for everything we need, I try to ask what I think the county will be can afford to give, and I can have everything we need. So, but I do appreciate your consideration.
I don't think anybody at this point has been extravagant. That don't mean they're gonna get everything, but I don't think they've been extravagant. Because,
Or unreasonable.
right, they haven't been unreasonable in what they're asking for.
But I do thank y'all.
We thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. We appreciate the sheriff's department and what they're doing.
You might have an unreasonable one coming up next.
I might do it.
Yeah, then you're probably right, probably right.
All right, we got,
Well, I'm impressed you showed up on time.
charitable contributions.
know.
Well, I'll say this, it may be unreasonable, but I appreciate this committee because used to, we had to do all this in the finance committee and it just drug it out forever. And so I appreciate the charitable contribution committee. Ms. Fields, we'll look at you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Before we get started, don't mind Melissa.
Go ahead.
Me and Melissa on the nonprofit committee, and we've had 2 meetings, and it was me, her, and Randall, the only 3 that showed up. And she's got this one category that is her fund, that she asked for money, and myself and Randall, we just didn't feel comfortable, just the 2 of us voting to approve this, so we just put this off. Everything else.
That's what that asterisk is there by that.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
we're not against it, it's just we didn't feel comfortable, just the 2 of us.
Yeah.
Still gotta be done.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, there, it was with just the 3 of us, I had, you know.
Still gotta be done.
couldn't vote.
I understand.
You can see in the first column is what each nonprofit was awarded last year, this fiscal year. Second column is what they have requested, and your third column is what the nonprofit committee recommended for funding. There were a few that had gone up. One that went up the most substantially is the fire and rescue. They had lately been getting 88,000. They requested 100,000, and we will recommend 100,000. They're not getting the money that they were from the city of Dover, and they're still doing the work. We did talk about the fire and rescue being one of the best fundraisers in the county. That Schnitzel fundraiser will make them a lot of money. But there's the requests, other requests were not that substantial, and a lot of them were reasonable where just hasn't been the availability to fundraise for nonprofits with COVID. And of course, the price of everything that we purchase has gone up, so if you have any questions about a certain one, I can answer that.
Were most of these interviewed and processing?
The ones that asked for more money, the ones that were stay the same but the ones that asked for an
They had
increase,
to
all
come in and
pendings.
present their.
Yes.
The Chamber of Commerce went up 3 million, what?
Oh, yeah, the Chamber of Commerce went up. She is, she's asking for more money because she has, well, she's here. She has somebody that works with her that she wanted to increase her, was hourly pay or hours?
Well, are we talking about the nonprofit or are we talking about the hotel motel?
Nonprofit.
Nonprofit.
Okay, so the nonprofit is more for tourism because we're reaching out to a lot of different areas and we've got we're trying to bring in tourism basically. It's free money, it's up for grabs, it's money we can bring in from other counties, and we're not really capitalizing on it. And so the Chamber of Commerce is really trying to just reach out and get that tourism money, create
brochures for Stewart County, really instigate the events that are going on inside the county, like boom slaying. I mean, it's just, we're doing a lot. There's a lot of packets that are going out in the mail, it's a lot of postage.
I'm sorry, so she did mention also that she usually gets a $2,000 grant for different things, and that she did not receive that this year from GNRC. So
But
that.
Cindy, this is not for personnel, it's just for.
Right,
Yeah,
this
this
is just
is
for
the
funds in
office.
the
Yeah, right,
office,
right,
yeah.
okay.
That $2,000 that, Forestry division want, we questioned that before. And I never got what the answer to it was.
I'll tell you what the answer is, I think, help me out, maybe. We've always done it.
Well, that $2,000, what are we getting for $2,000?
I don't
You
know, it suits me to take it out, I mean,
Well,
I'm just
really,
saying.
I mean, what are we getting, that's
I think it goes back to 1950 something.
There's an agreement, I brought that forward probably the last few years, I can bring it forward for you next Monday, but there's an agreement that was signed back in 1950 something. That amount is still the same amount, so we would have to terminate the agreement. I would have to probably talk with legal on the legality of, how we go about that.
Should we honor something back in the '50s?
It's never been terminated, it's still there.
So
They-
$2,000.
Most of you wasn't born then, but I was.
That was a lot of money.
You
don't wanna argue $2,000, you don't wanna make
I
that
understand, I
exchange.
understand.
I
Hey,
guess the answer, Terry, is we're in a legal agreement. If we're gonna quit paying it, we're gonna have to get out of the legal
Well, let me-
agreement. We'd have to talk to Charles
Is
Parker.
that the forestry department that, with
One
the
that go around
fire,
and fights
with the
fire.
fire tires and
Yeah,
all that? It ain't the forestry department, they'll be helped.
No.
No.
It's the one that comes, like
Firefighter.
the Woods Fire, they go out.
Right, yeah, that's what I was thinking, it's nothing connected
No,
to
no,
they'll be
no,
helped.
no.
And, I just wonder what you.
It's a
yeah.
state, it's a state,
Oh.
Tennessee Park.
I make a statement on that, I don't disagree, but they are also with the conversation that we just had with Mr. Mathis, they're sending $46,000 a year for like $500. I don't want them
And then-
reevaluating.
That's LBL, that's not this.
I thought that was the forest.
No.
Okay, two different things.
Two different things.
Okay.
And what-
That was a good thought, though.
But I don't want them
No.
reevaluating every contract.
That's LBL, that's US Forestry Department.
Okay, yes.
This is state.
All right, all right, thank you for.
Well,
the
I'm just curious.
No,
But I wouldn't let get into that.
you don't know what's apology, that's how you learn to ask questions.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, what are we getting for our money? Well, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, they come around and fight fires, Terry, you've seen them come out with a plow.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so we're helping them fund their equipment or what, I guess.
You don't know.
I don't know, we've always done it, I said.
It's always been there.
Not a good answer.
Another
Not a
question.
good answer, but an honest answer.
I got you.
Another question that I have, Mid-Cumberland HRA, it's a fairly odd number in comparison to the rest of them, but it went from 26,691 back to 19,816, did they not show up, or?
They,
What happened there?
the Mid-Cumberland, there's several of them that we keep the same as what they
Right.
have always done. Because they're such large organizations.
Yeah, I understand.
And that's pretty much just keeping them where, and it is kind of, those are the weirdest numbers. But that is the reason that we kept them where they were
Okay.
last time, is because they're such larger organizations. Same thing with, the Red Cross and other ones like that.
The athletic, I noticed it went down,
Mhm.
and, what's the reason behind all
The
that?
Athletic Association, in years past, have always asked for 18,000. The past 2 years, they've asked for a little more, so they could do the bathrooms, do those updates. And I
concrete.
think that I remember that last year, when they came to us, they said that, as long as they got those things done, they'd go back down to their 18,000.
They kinda had an agreement with us that was a one-time.
I know
Yeah.
there's a day coming, them old lights over there, all the lights around the field and stuff, they're gonna have to be updated one of these days. And I don't know what they'll do with that. And,
Those are a lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of money. TDA helped them before.
Yeah, and that's, I think they've gotten a couple of quotes, in the past where it's gonna be well over $700,000.
Oh, yeah, it's unreal, it's unreal.
So I'm not sure, and I did mention last year that, you know, the county commission would have a hard time.
Is there any grant money out there to help them?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
To answer Mr. Fitchie's question.
Yeah.
Charles Parks has been working with the Athletic Association and Parks and Recreation Committee to craft some agreements and some language memorandums of understandings between the soccer fields and the ballpark, so that the county could go after some grants. So that's in the process of.
Well, that's what I wondered.
That's good.
This county can't handle $700,000 on lights and stuff, and they're really, I remember when they put in there,
Yeah,
that's been a
and
while.
they, you know, they've mentioned several times at our Parks and Rec meeting about how bad shape they are, and.
They are.
And that CEMC will not set the.
Not
funds,
anymore,
that's what they
not
said.
anymore,
So
we went over and helped build it.
It'll be a big task for that to happen, and
We helped build it.
finding grant money, you know, that's really all that you'd be able to do is find grant money with that.
Mr. Fitchie, let me get back to
Yes,
your.
sir.
Do you, seriously, now I'm not kidding, do you want the county attorney to explore this agreement?
I really can't answer that, and be honest with you, I don't know whether I want to or not. Well, I mean, I just wonder what we got for our money.
Well, I know.
I don't know whether we
A
need
little
to.
firefighting is all I know.
I don't know whether if they earmark it when you get this $2,000, where they put it, or whatever, I don't know.
I don't know
I don't know.
who runs the state for, I don't even know who works.
We have yeah, I mean, the agreement that I provided before, you know, explains some of the things they provide, but those are just general forestry. But if you
Remember,
want
she
more
brought that
detail-
agreement.
I know
Yeah, but
it's just $2,000.
But
I
if you'd like more
realize that.
detail, there is a contact we have, we could ask them to, you know, either
If
speak.
you don't mind, next budget meeting, will you bring that agreement back for?
Absolutely, yes.
When we can look at it, we'll go from there.
Hey, you don't even have to do that.
Well,
Hey,
let's do it.
You don't have to do that.
And we did get, from every nonprofit, we did get a letter asking for.
It's the same, it's the agreement, that's what
Okay.
you had, yeah, and then the letter too, they actually sent a letter. And I don't mind reaching out, I'll reach out to that contact just to give us a little bit better layman's language, you know, about what they did, yeah.
And Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
And Margie mentioned that it's possible with new technology, and you may not be seeing human beings in the field. There may be more some sort of infrared technology or something, you know, that is more, like I said, more technology.
Drones.
Drones or something.
Yep,
So, I guess that contact.
That's true.
would be able to
Yeah,
provide
that's
some
true.
information.
any other line item here we wanna ask?
Well, I
Steve
know
about?
senior citizens is in Creek. What are they doing there?
They are, equipment, she needs, she's wanting some, extra exercise equipment, she's wanting to, raise the person that helps her, she's needing to raise her salary, or raise her hours, so that would go towards, because the Senior Citizen Center is not only a nonprofit, but they have to, you know, they have grants that they get, and they're reimbursable, but they have to have the funding to spend as well to get it, but she's wanting some extra equipment, she's wanting some, extra money for her helper. She said that her helper's been at the same level for, I wanna say 10 years.
I'm sure her fundraising had been
Her
great.
fundraising was
Oh,
her.
COVID and killed her, amazing.
Yeah, her fundraising, and the other thing is, you know, they're doing a lot more outreach because some of the seniors haven't come back yet. You know, they're still afraid to get out in the
Oh,
community.
yeah, they
so,
are.
yeah, but her fundraising it kind of tanked too. It was, because they did a lot of cooking fundraisers and they didn't have anybody to cook, and, you know, people were afraid to do all that, yeah.
Anybody else?
I think we need to talk about this one sheet that.
This nonprofit due to one committee member?
Yeah, that's.
Church County Alliance for
Yeah.
Substance Use.
Are y'all gonna meet again to,
Not unless we have to.
you just want this committee to do it?
I think I talked with Heather before, and I can do my presentation to the full commission, because, I mean, you can vote maybe to send up the total 271, 291, or 271, 291, but it would still have to be voted on for me to receive that money. because we did not have a quorum, and
Okay.
I couldn't vote.
Now, your recommendation was 245.
That's without the
That's without the
15.
15,000 that I asked for.
Now, what do you need the 15,000 for?
Our, right now my grant is through the county, the county's my fiscal agent. The state is recommending that all coalitions start to go full 501c3 nonprofit rather than having a fiscal agent. So what we're asking for is, it's a 100% reimbursable grant. So, you know, we've never had an issue in budget and finance with that because it's always 100% reimbursable.
Right.
The problem is we have to have money in the bank to be able to be reimbursed. So this request for $15,000 is gonna be hopefully a one-time request. It would be about 10% of my total budget. We're expecting around $150,000 in grants to come through the nonprofit. But, being a reimbursable grant, we have to have money in the bank. So we're asking for the 15,000 to help with that. And then also there's things that we cannot purchase with grant money. They're getting pretty strict on me with different things. I can't order pencils. I can't, you know, there's just things that I can't order with grant money that would help go toward those costs too. We actually need about $25,000 just to be able to spend the money, you know, on the things that we do. One of our invoices, I think 2 months ago was about $6,500 just for the one grant. So, we just need that money to be able to spend and get reimbursed. But again, this is, for me, I'm hoping that this will be a one-time ask. I don't want to have to come back every year. I mean, you know, a lot of the nonprofits are coming, you know, they come back every year, that helps with their funds, but I have that grant funding. I don't expect it to go away, and I don't expect to have to come back, you know, in the next year.
All right, to clarify, the third column, I was looking at the second column too, so the third column is what the committee's recommended, so the 245 plus the 15 would be 260,
Correct.
not 271.
Yeah.
260, 460.
416, 260, 416, not 271, so.
Correct.
That, I misquoted that.
I misquoted that too.
Well, that's okay. We got it straight, we got it straight.
And there was, of course, one nonprofit that did not ask for money this year. They haven't been active in the community, so.
Anybody else?
So what do we need to do with, just her presenting that was okay, for that 15? Did y'all vote on those, Drew?
We did not vote on hers.
We
Voted on the rest of
There
it.
is.
I don't know, do we just need to let her present that to the full commission, or?
It's your all's decision if budget finance wanted to make a motion to
How
make
about,
recommendations.
I'll make a motion to add substance use and abuse to the nonprofits list.
To this list? I say, all right, we got a motion, we're gonna add this 15,000
I
in.
second that.
Got a second from Mr. Watkins, are there further discussions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposition? All right, passes, so we'll fill in the 15,000, which would bring it up to that 260, 416. So that way it'll all be presented to the commission, you won't have to.
Well, I'll answer questions.
Well, I understand, but you won't have to take that separate.
Right. Okay.
Any other questions from Ms. Fields? All right, we appreciate it, Ms. Fields.
Thanks.
Okay, fellas, we get down to new business.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
You mind if I address the community?
No, not at all.
Thank you. I just want to kind of talk about something that we talked about in oversight and Ag Full Commission, and that was these federal funds that we have right now. Up until January and February of this year, we were not allowed to spend federal funds on capital projects. And we couldn't do it. But after January and February, they said we could. So I'm seeing between the EMS, the highway, and the Sheriff's Department, I'm seeing $583,000 in capital projects requests. And one of the things we talked about at oversight, but we didn't come to an agreement at commission, was spending some of this federal money on capital projects. So I just want to kind of let you know there's an option out there that we can spend up to $600,000. I feel comfortable with dispersing 600,000 of the 2.66 million into these capital projects. It would cover all of these capital projects. And the reason I want to bring that option before you is because we know how inflation has hit the country. We know how fuel prices have gone up, food prices have gone up. So if there's any way that we can use county revenue, and county revenue's up, and you know, we don't know that that's always gonna be that way, but if we can look at a COLA increase for our county workers, a substantial COLA increase, if we could spend federal money on capital projects, that would free up county revenue for our worker pay increases. So I just wanted to kind of tie all that together, that we do have up to $600,000. Now this changes the playing field a little bit, because originally we had talked about giving $500,000 to the highway department to spend it all on roads. But when we found out we could put it on capital projects, it just seemed like it made better sense to give it to the different departments to the tune of $583,000 or whatever it is, and then maybe use county money for COLAs or step raises, step increases, or however we can help our county employees. And so I just wanted to kind of tie all that together, Mr. Chairman.
Would that leave any of this federal money for county roads?
The thing about what we have to no, I'm gonna say probably not.
Okay.
Because we have to consider, making matching funds. We want to save some money back from matching funds, so I would say no, we probably would not.
What does COLA, what, 1% cost of living raise?
That we'd have to.
I don't have those calculations.
Can you
At
break
lunch,
out-
that's what we're doing Monday night.
Yeah, if you could tell what 1% is, then we, you know, if we was gonna do 2 or 3, whatever.
Or 4.
The school presents Monday night, so, either I can bring like, I wanna bring all the different, Mr. Joe, you know, wants to
Yeah.
see all the different costs, personnel changes, step increases, and then I also wanted to present the COLA if it was given. So there's different options out there that we can look at.
But Mr. Chairman, to answer your question, I mean, it wouldn't be money for roads, but it would be money for capital projects
understand.
for the county highway department, and this committee or the commission could vote to give more money for roads.
Right.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
thank you. We're gonna have the school Monday night, right?
Yeah, my question to you is, you know, you still need to see the full budget with the revenue side, so I can either come Monday, or we also have budget finance on Tuesday. If we think that's too much to hear the school and then all ours and the options, we can do that Tuesday night, either way.
If we got it advertised for Tuesday night?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, here's what I'm thinking out loud. Once we get the school presentation, which there's gonna be so big, there's no way we can digest it all that night. I'd like to go into this other stuff if it's not too late. If it is, we'll just wait till Tuesday night.
Okay.
But what I've asked Heather to do is give this committee a summary of everybody that's asked for additional funding. And I'm not talking about a little more for postage, I'm talking about everybody that's asked for new personnel, capital projects that the mayor was just talking about, step increase raises like we've heard tonight. Give us a summary of all this stuff that we're facing. And we're gonna have to leave foot now and discuss it and try to come up with a consensus among this group of what we're gonna do. Now, that's where I'm going.
We need a dollar amount.
Yeah, sure, bottom dollar amount, and we need options, Heather, I don't wanna put you on, but all you can give us, if you do this, it's gonna cost you this. If you do this, it's gonna cost you this. Is that asking too much?
No, that's not, how I normally present the budget with the revenues. Do you want me to insert everybody's request and then explain what those things are?
Yes.
Okay.
And put everybody's request in the budget,
Okay,
and then,
break it down.
yes, break it down here to where if we can't honor that request, we pull that out, or at least part of it out. Now, that's the way I do it.
Yeah, I think that's best, because you're gonna, I mean, I can tell you right now, you're gonna see a deficit, you know, so how high of a deficit are you willing to? Yeah.
So, and you know, give us our options and the revenue of paying for it, They like the capital projects, and that's a big chunk there. We've got an option of doing something else instead of making capital outlay, no?
Well, there's also
You see what I'm
the
saying?
shifting of the pennies that I wanna present, so
Hey,
there's
that
a lot of
too,
things,
That too,
yeah,
that
to
too,
discuss.
moving the money, right. Everybody okay with what I'm?
I cringe when you say capital outlay. That's what got us
A lot of people do.
$34 million in debt. I don't even wanna hear capital outlay.
But, Commissioner, that is an option.
It's an option that we don't even need to talk about.
That's, you need to bring those ideas to the meeting.
I bring them to the meeting every time you propose one.
I didn't propose that, Commissioner.
Well.
I said that is an option. Okay, right?
All right,
Okay.
Remember, he's the judge.
that's okay.
You remember when-
I'm the executioner.
Remember, we have a county court clerk, don't you?
Mr. Chairman, just remember when the school brings theirs over, give us time to digest that big budget.
If I don't, punch me,
Okay.
punch me. But you still gonna have to take that thing home and,
Exactly.
yeah.
Well, I don't wanna vote on that night.
No, we will not, no. In fact, Heather, we're probably gonna need to advertise for another meeting.
Another, I've blocked off some
Because the
days.
school budget, I want to give them at least a week to look at it before we come back on any kind of vote.
So maybe look for that first or second week in May,
Yeah.
schedule a few more
Is that
budget
okay?
meetings.
Week be enough. Any other new business? Have a motion to adjourn? We stand adjourned till Monday night.
Monday night.